So as a facilitator, I'm really interested in how things are different when you do things in circles. I don't know if any of you have that experience, but it always seems to be different. So thank you for going with that, and thank you for being here. We're going to be talking about sustainable enterprises, what that might mean for us now here in the room with Campfire, and I'll tell you first how I came to be interested in what sustainable enterprises might mean. I worked in education and then the third sector for a while, and for the past couple of years I've worked as a freelancer with a charity and a social enterprise because I wanted to learn how to be sustainable, how to run a sustainable business that was built on values that were good for people and the earth. And I still don't quite know how to do that, because what I see is that in South Wales the third sector is massive and the third sector relies on grant funding, and that isn't going to last for long. And I really struggle to think about finding ways to monetize what feels like social good. And I think I'll be really interested to hear what people's ideas are on that as we talk kind of around Campfire Convention and those issues. So firstly, I haven't done the thing that Lou did where I prepared, where I knew who everybody was. So I'm just going to hand straight over and let you introduce yourself.
My name's Eileen Inglis, and I'm a bit on the spot here because Pete asked me to stand in for somebody at the last minute, and I don't feel very good at winging it, so be kind to me. I'm based in Edinburgh, and I work for an organisation called Unlimited. I've been there for the last 15 years, and what we do is we fund and support social entrepreneurs, so essentially people who are trying to get enterprising solutions to social issues off the ground in their community. So I've worked with quite a few hundred people over the years that are trying to set up sustainable businesses all over Scotland addressing social issues. So hopefully I'll have something relevant to say, be able to answer some of your questions about my experiences of working with people who are trying to do that.
Hi, I'm Pete. I'm fairly unprepared for this as well because somebody else who was going to come in on the panel didn't. But anyway, what I'd like to talk about is the context of Campfire, really, and where we are in terms of membership and what our membership should offer, not just what it should offer to you, but what you can contribute. I think it has to be seen as a two-way thing. Are we at a point where communities are able to say, well, membership is a solution? I think that's got to be one of the main things I'd like to talk about, and I know I've had discussions with a few of you individually about this, and I'd like to, at the earliest point, throw it open and see what you've got to say about it, because that's key. But for me, there was a lot of damage, I suppose, done by the age of free, and you only have to look at The Guardian as an example, as a site that's now beginning to build a membership, as an example, rather than, it is a paper that's free online effectively, but there are a lot of people here. I mean, how many people here do subscribe to a paper like The Guardian, out of interest? So, a few. How many read The Guardian online? Yeah, probably twice as many. So there's all those issues around Facebook being free for so many years and people expecting things to be free, and how happy they are to have algorithmic stuff thrown back at them in forms of advertising for stuff they've already, for pages they might have been on, for their data that's being personally mined. And then the whole advertising thing across free social media and how happy people are with that. So that's one thing I'd be interested to find out. How is advertising for you? When we started the Big Chill, we were determined to do it without ads and without sponsorship, but that was abandoned. I was overruled by various directors at certain points, and we ended up taking sponsorship, which effectively destroyed, in many ways, the Big Chill as it was. We had one end of the site that was full of different shades of dance music tents, all sponsored by alcohol companies, and that for me, was the beginning of the end. You know, you could walk down to the end of the site and people would sort of fall in front of you on the path through being drunk or off their heads, and it just wasn't what I had in mind originally. So there was a lot of compromise involved in terms of sponsorship, and I think that carries right through. So when I started Campfire, one of the things I was determined to do was keep it ad-free and sponsorship-free. So out of that comes questions about, are we ready to actually look at a model where people are prepared to come in and contribute and pay a small membership fee? It's currently £20 a year as a minimum, although several of our members have given more than that. But that breaks down at £1.66 a month, which doesn't to me seem like prohibitive, but it still may be for some people. So that's a question I'd like to throw open to you as well. And really, I think I'd like to hear your opinions on that. There's lots more I can come in and talk about as the discussion moves on, but I'd like to also ask Luke about your ideas behind the Dignity platform.
Shall I just introduce myself for now? Cool. Hi, I'm Luke. I'm also the camera guy. I should sort of be over there and downstairs, so I hope it's filming. So yeah, I wear two hats. I obviously do my filmmaking stuff, which increasingly is capturing stories that matter to me, subjectively. So People and Planet, before-profit organisations, I don't care if they're making £1 million a year. Like, it's more about the priorities. So I want to capture those stories, and that journey I've been on since I was 18, and I'm 31 now, has really led me, I think, to the social enterprise I'm working on now called Dignity Platform. And the vision behind this is to create a brand new way for people to support the organisations and projects that they're most inspired by meeting their neighbours and helping them with useful tasks. So I don't know how long my slot is right now, and I don't want to hog the mic, but yeah, I'd like to chat about some things that I think could be relevant for Campfire Convention, such as research I've done into pay-as-you-feel models. I'm going to sort of look for a nod and you sort of tell me when to prune my talk time.
No, it's good, interesting.
Okay, cool. So yeah, to kind of recap on Dignity Platform, like the future that I want to work towards is one where hundreds of millions of pounds is going to the most needed organisations and projects, the most inspiring and impactful projects, local, humble, little community projects, all the way through to huge visionary ones that are tackling systemic global challenges. And doing this by every single person, young and old, in a wheelchair, whoever they are, wherever they are, being able to give in the way that they want to, that feels good, and meeting their neighbours at the same time. So the way it works is we have 2 spaces on the platform. It's very, very new, by the way. We've got version 1 live, and I'd love you to look at it and test it. dignityplatform.org. And it's reassuring, I see some jotting down notes. So there's the marketplace of giving. This is where you can offer your skills to your neighbours. So you can go, I'm a photographer, I'm a filmmaker, I can even probably fix your printer. And you offer those skills to your community voluntarily. So if you're time rich, that's a beautiful way to give, not just to the causes you want to support, but to your neighbours. And because those neighbours are going to pay to receive your useful skill, that money is going to go as a donation to the causes that you love. The doer and the hirer both get to choose causes separately. So I might choose Campfire Convention, charge £40 an hour, say. So £20 of that is going to go to Campfire Convention in this example, just because I met with a neighbour and I fixed their printer. So this to me seems extremely scalable, partly because we don't have to do what Uber and Airbnb do and fight for each and every user to sign up to the platform, and probably have to incentivize that by paying people money that we've got from venture capitalists, debt or equity or whatever. We're just pure grant funded until we're financially self-sustaining. We work with causes like Campfire Convention would promote Dignity Platform. Oxfam would promote Dignity Platform to its own members. Local community growing projects, they've got their own channels of communication, email lists and events and all these sort of things. They're our marketing department for us. So this is the kind of innovation I'm really interested in at the moment, is mutual benefit kind of relationships for scaling massively in a super inclusive way, enabling people to give in a really neighbourly, fun, but also super effective way that's moving way beyond a kind of £3 a month, more into like 40 quid now is actually our average gig value we're finding on the marketplace. So yeah. Shall I touch on pay as you feel, or shall I hold that?
Yeah, that's great. Can I put you on the spot? How is Unlimited funded?
Unlimited was set up 15 years ago with a £100 million endowment from the Millennium Awards Trust. Okay. So it was essentially money from the lottery, but it actually means that money will be there forever. We don't have to go to other organisations, although we do locally. Unlimited's a UK-wide organisation, so locally my colleagues might go to their local council, or in Scotland we have been funded by the Scottish Government, but it's a bit complicated in Scotland, so I won't go into that. So we do raise additional money, but the sort of base of our money is from that endowment which was invested.
Okay, interesting. Thank you all. And to put it out to the floor, any comments, questions, observations, thoughts, experiences around these issues?
I just would like Eileen to talk a little bit more about the kind of social enterprises you see. I mean, we're all interested in kind of what works. Can you give us a few examples of what works practically and what doesn't work?
Well, a lot of things don't work. I mean, we're working with people who are at the very early stages of what they're doing, so it's individuals testing out an idea. So we give small amounts of money, up to £5,000 to pilot something, and then potentially up to 15,000 to take it on to the next level. The problem with setting up sustainable enterprises that are addressing a social issue is that there's often a huge need, but there's a lack of a paying market. So I would say the things that generally succeed are things that are selling a product that members of the public can buy, because the challenge is how to make money. And I was interested when you said, look, that you saw yourself as fully, you said self-sustaining, but that you were grant funded. And I would question whether those actually being grant funded is being financially...
Until we're grant funded until self-sustaining.
Oh, sorry, I must have misheard you. But yeah, I think generally things that have a product to sell are the ones that seem to be most successful. Well, I'd actually thought I might get asked this, so I quickly made a list. I was thinking of people that we've supported over the years that are still going. There's an organisation in Glasgow called Spruce Carpets who recycle carpet and carpet tiles, sell them to members of the public. I can think of a music venue in Glasgow. They run a foundation teaching music to young people who couldn't afford that, but they run a cafe and a music venue. And we've just supported someone who's going to be doing a buy one get one free sanitary tiles to address period poverty, but she's actually managed to get the product into a number of large retailers. Things where there's not necessarily a product that everyone might buy. Another woman that we recently supported in Edinburgh runs a community cafe and outside catering business, but it's based within a housing complex for older people, so she's got a captive market there. So yeah, that's just some examples without going on.
My name is Mary Flynn. I'm an artist. I work across disciplines, and I run a company, and initiatives company for about 20 years now, for people. So I just want to say a few things. First of all, you said the thing about sustainable business that I've had to learn is to try and get a bit better at business. I mean, and that's the bottom line, whichever way you look at it. You know, you haven't gone from doing free, and I still do, I'd say, to be honest, 75% of free, which is really great still do. But I've got a lot more hardcore about business, number one. And then number two, what I've learned, because I also campaigned quite extensively in the tech area about fair trade for artists, what I think is really imperative that I see the third sector doing, because I sort of cross over even though we're not a charity, is that we don't argue our business case for investment. You continually go for grants, so you said it's grant dependent in the south of Wales, we're starting with a grant, and Unlimited with a grant, and that's all great, you know, money's good whichever way you get it. But we've never actually received Arts Council funding, but we've received business grants. And I now actually, because if I go, no offence to the Arts Council, they might even like that, but I can't do the forms. But if, you know, there's a sort of mentality of philanthropy and begging that we almost have to ask for money, when we actually should be really arguing the business case of the merit to society, how much it's going to cost you if people fall through cracks, through whatever services you're providing. Because at the end of the day, it's a product or a service that you're providing, right? And and I think collectively we all need to argue that a lot stronger. And then on the advertising thing and the sponsorship, my feeling is that, although we're now getting approached actually decided by people who want to sponsor, is that we always assume that it's rubbish. We don't have an infrastructure, which I'm working a little bit on, for small sustainable advertising. So my dad years ago, do you remember when you got ordnance survey maps with the estate agent thing? He did this deal where, this is a long time ago, maybe not a month or something, where he had all little adverts around the edge. That's what we need.
Yes, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So it's so that the ethics and the sustainability is sorted. You're not going to PepsiCo for the easy big money, because then your event becomes big. It's not what you first started off wanting to do. It becomes unmanageable. It's an environmental disaster. And I've learned that through we've got too big spaces and it's far too much. Our inclination is to get bigger, not better. And I think that's really critical.
Yes, absolutely. In Cardiff, we have a woman who runs an independent design shop who, just off her own back, made a pamphlet which advertised all the independent shops in the city centre, and it's everywhere. That's what we need. Yeah,
People on Facebook, we're not in a digital revolution, we're in a neuroscientific disaster and experimentation with humanity, whereby the biggest ad agencies of the planet are robbing our brains. So we need to reclaim back, I think, through business, personally, through ethical business, that advertising space, because it's really critical. That's my personal view. Getting there.
I'm Jenny. I work for Big Chill, so I've witnessed the journey. George Lewis said that in an ironic way, that advertising was causing gaps, and I think it's supposed to make you think. But I think if there's a kind of literal truth to what he was saying about what advertising does for the planet, this mass production and selling of products. So I think that there needs to we need to create ethical directories of a greater understanding of who are the companies that are succeeding. We need some sort of reward system, we need some kind of framework, so we know who we can be involved with. Because the spin and the PR of a lot of these companies is so untruthful that we really need to gather together and really have a no bullshit directory of who's actually really succeeding and awards for excellence from Campfire Convention, ethical business awards, whatever it is, and backed by ethical sponsors and so on and so forth. So we need to, like you said, reserve the business, reserve ethical awards, whatever we need to do to make that information widely available to a lot of businesses is really important. I ran a picture label for many years. I run my own record label, and there's all those questions about when we're producing stuff. Do you need to produce CDs? What are they doing with the planet? If they don't sell, what do they do? What about Bitcoin? Direct ethical business models for selling music directly to the public that are fair and just? Is there enough awareness about what is a fair model? Free, like I said, has been a disaster for musicians. It's many people. Not for all of them. Not for all of them, but for a lot of people that I've known over 20 years of doing music PR and music promotion, people have gone from having a stable income to having to just give up, leave the industry and do a normal job. And that is a brain drain, that's a creative drain in this country, and it should not be allowed to continue. And just one final point, which is why I am standing to be the featured artist BPL director right now. Being around these community big part Campfire Conventions, maybe prepared to step forward. Right, it's PPL is the Phonographic Performance Licensing Society, and I am standing as the only female featured artist director on the
There's the only female?
Yeah.
Oh,
So I got shortlisted last time. I'm literally in election mode right now.
it's how you get money if you play on music.
It's how so the policy of musicians, but every year there's £6 million or that amount that then gets divvied up from unpaid royalties from 6 years earlier, then gets given to the biggest artists in the industry. And there is no evidence base that those people are lacking in royalties, that those royalties have anything to do with it. So that's kind of made me my platform for moving forward, because I think that should go back to PRS, the Musicians Union, and nourish the root of the music industry.
Yeah. We'll vote for it.
Hello. Yes, I run Advantages of Age, and we are a movement to challenge aging, and we have had some arts council funding, because I am good at filling in application, and some other grant funding as well to run a business academy. But all of these are kind of quite specific projects, and obviously there's a much bigger picture, like there is with Campfire Convention, where you've got, you know, you want to transform society, you've got some really, you know, you've got a really big vision. And it seems to me that's where there's that shortfall, and where this idea of a membership scheme then kind of kicks in, because quite frankly, most of us can't really think of any other way to do it. And so at that point, and we pitched the idea within our group of, would you be prepared to pay for this, and what would you be prepared to pay? And there was almost universal silence about one amongst 2,500 people who just, you know, don't really want to think about it. But the fact is, I have given up all my fee-paying clients and am now living off my savings and Airbnb to support what I and 2,500 people believe in. So the question is, you know, for me, it's like, what, and I'm just interested to hear from people, is like, what are you willing to pay for? Like, what is the challenge for you of that £1.66 a month? Why does that figure somehow not equate to like what it is we're all trying to do? Like, what do you want?
Any answers? Put that out to the floor.
For me, I mean, we have events like, you know, similar kind of thing to Campfire, but it's for aging.
Yeah, and part of it is about getting out of that mindset of what can I get from this, as I mentioned in my speech earlier on, about what can we build together. You know, we can build a valuable resource together and something that will benefit us at the end of the day. And with that in mind, I came up with the idea for the kudos scheme for Campfire, which once we can go into profit, and that's the key, it can repay input, literally, where everything can be measured, whether it's an article you write or volunteering for an event, hosting an event, setting up a beacon, editing a guild, you get points for it, and then we literally divvy out according to how much you put in.
Like the Buddhist thing, elephant, that will work, but only if you go for ethical advertising as well.
But you're sort of introducing then a reward system, and that's another job in itself, is monitoring and managing a reward system. I mean, we're moving to Patreon, I think. Which I don't know if
But
everybody's
the
heard.
joy of the system we have in mind, it does it automatically.
Yeah.
So you just, literally every time you write a post, or you get a tick and you get 3 points or whatever the community decides you can award. So
So I want to respond to you about what are you
Right.
willing to pay. So I've got quite a lot of disposable income from my pension. And there's lots of organisations that are always asking for money. And periodically I'm saying, oh yeah, I'm going to put a bit more money to that, put a bit more money to that. But somehow it's not part of my psychology, because I believe that the taxation from our government should be funding all of these things. That's kind of an underlying platform of belief. And also, I see people who are, what do you call it, refugees from the neoliberal economies. So Steve Keen is an economist that I really admire. And he's been forced out of his professorship at Kingston University. And he's now on Patreon because he believes that what he's offering to people, but you know, he needs lots of money, as we do, and somehow there's a whole myriad of things out there that we'd like to be supported. And how do we make those choices? So I mean that's really. And yet on the other side, I know that I ought to be paying for my newspaper. Yeah. So that there's complicated thinking.
It will be London for IP law to be implemented.
And what's your name?
Oh, sorry, Bob.
Thank you, Bob. And Ralph?
Yeah, I've kind of been around this issue quite a bit. I'm involved with a network that we have no funding apart from money we put in ourselves, and we put on residential events, workshops, teaching sessions, and we have to pay for everything. We don't look for funding elsewhere. We work on sliding scales. And I think what we've found is we are in a world of we are beginning in a world of inequality already, and we have quite a lot of struggles where people kind of want a handful of people who run things to solve inequality. I can't. That really we cannot solve all of the worries and inequalities and disgruntlements that people bring to our network. It should be free. Why isn't this free?
What's your network?
Well, it's a rehabilitation counselling network, teaching peer counselling, teaching peer business skills. And it's not done for money. We just do things on cost, cheap, as economically as possible and as inclusively as possible. But I didn't come across the idea of, so we've had to stop being liberal. You can't just be nice. You can't run it by being nice because things have gone wrong when you try and get people in for nothing. Because actually everything costs. And I think one of the corrections we need is to really understand, and this is environmentally as well as economically, across the board, to understand real, true costs and true value. And we've got a big distortion, haven't we? So globally now, real value and real costs. We think environmentally, the idea of throwing something away, the rubbish goes somewhere. We have to have a holistic view. And so in our network, we only have a handful of volunteers doing a lot of volunteer work and real costs of venues that have to be paid. So there is no, if we want to sponsor something because we think it's important for them to participate, somebody has to pay for that. And we pay for it amongst ourselves. And it's really helpful to focus the mind. I think free at the moment is quite unhelpful, an idea. And I wouldn't offer free things. If I specifically thought a person needed to come on a particular basis, we've got a system for doing that. But as a general idea, throw it open, because we've got so much ingrained greed, habits of greed and something for nothing. And there's a big correction, I think, socially about any something for nothing. It's got us in a mess.
Yeah. And add to that another layer of inequality. If you do bring in advertising, then only some people can afford to advertise. Immediately you've got another level of inequality there. Plus the economic ramifications of producing, selling and advertising, which Eugenia was talking about. The whole economic cycle of GDP has to go up, there has to always be growth. Which read a book called Donut Economics by Kate Raworth, which disproves that and sets out a new economic model.
And the lady in the purple.
I've got a couple of questions for the rest of that. We're talking in the morning about diversifying the network and not switching to the convergence, etc., etc., etc. And the whole thing around money, going back to your network and what happened when you actually got silence, a very, very vocal silence. Is telling something. To me, it's in order to diversify a network, you need to actually apply different layers and to have different systems within the same system, so to speak. And that's why I like what you said about the kudos.
You're the second person in a matter of weeks to ask me about class, and I don't know the answer. I really don't. It's really difficult, isn't it?
Just going on through an example where we've got a space that's got was a very poor area, quite big town village, 7,000 people, is now independence for room and all that. Because we had real issues around planning on board. I don't think it's class based, I think it's belief based. And money based.
Belief based.
I think the class thing slightly is belief and money based now. There's two sides to that town. There's the people that read The Guardian and want independence for room and want the independence. And then there's other people, there's a massive planning war going on about plot land in the middle of town, from a bunch of people that want your vision and another bunch of people that want another TK Maxx or whatever. And it's almost become a badge of honour that the blow-ins are taking over their town. Really, if I'm being honest, John Harris is back to where he lived. But you know, because it's got like this, so there's nothing happening with Peace around. Because Mendip Council want TK Maxx or whatever it is, you know, you get the idea. Yeah. And you know, and the locals don't care as well. I don't even know they want it now. They just don't want the other side to win. I don't know what's going on. I keep away from it actually, but it's really interesting. I think we do have to be honest about it. But I'm not really sure if it's class. That's what interests me. I think I used to think it was, but now I think it's more belief and money.
I think there's
probably different things in different
Yeah.
places. Certainly where I am, it's very much class is still a thing. It's very much still a thing, but it's going to be different things in different places.
there's something about the way that we use the internet today to organise around shared interest that I think probably is changing that class dynamic. But what I notice is that when I go to things, it's very much people like me, and I made that choice consciously, and I really want to understand how to diversify. It's probably not the way to think of it, but I don't really know how, because I live in this bubble, I suppose. How do I know what other people are doing? They're not inviting me to it. I'm being... Oh, do I have to? So yeah, I don't know if anybody else got a response. The chap who's now sat on the back did put his hand up, but I don't know. Just after noon.
I guess one thing that struck me is everybody in this room.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sorry?
Do you want to introduce yourself? Name?
What's your name?
Sorry, my name is Mark. Because everybody in this room has vision and thanks to people for helping get it going. But when it comes to funding, I wonder whether we should consider stripping away the ideology, however hard that is. And the reason I mention this is I used to run a literary festival in Fringe in Worcestershire. They hated it. They didn't want the literary festival. It was funded almost entirely initially by a baffle. Slightly, sir, what do you name?
Luke?
That's right, yeah. And so people donate things, sometimes even services, and that would help us keep the festival going. That's a bit of a hot house, it's a big things. But it kept us afloat for many years. And then eventually, people started giving us money for other reasons. So the model whereby people give stuff and then just feel they've got home a bit of you, even if it's a service, can work. But it's not really, it doesn't feel ideologically sound. But on the other hand, it helps you to keep going.
What's the alternative? You said it's not ideological. What would be ideological?
Ideologically, well, the government pay Campfire Convention.
Government sponsored, would that be?
I don't know. It would be, all people will be happy to pay out of that pocket. People don't feel it's money. Sometimes people, we notice people very quickly. You say, could you use this? Use this armchair. Oh, you haven't. So, I suppose it's a sort of money-free option. You can't unwrap stuff for that money.
Where would you draw the line though? Because take private members clubs, Soho House, Shoreditch House, would the government be paying for those?
No, only Campfire Convention.
Seriously though, actually, that's a very good point. I think from running events, right, the reverse psychology of So Far Sounds works brilliantly. If you become an exclusive club and people think that they want to pay, when I went to that, we did
It is reverse psychology.
I've done them at Google Campus before they realised what we were up to. Charge 25 quid on a Tuesday night and sell out. I'd do the same event for free on the basis of open access that 2 people would come. So, I stopped that because I was exhausted.
Hence your hard-headed business approach.
Yeah, because it's I'm undervaluing my time. So the people don't value it, it's basically. So, and so actually the idea of feeling like you're part of a niche club, I know this is totally maybe going to feel difficult for community-minded people, but it sort of works when you're doing the money dynamic. And I think also, in terms of, I don't know, but if you're looking at who are you, let's be honest, who's here is under 50? Not, under 40.
Thanks very much.
Who's black?
Who is it?
But, sorry, I'm being a bit devil's advocate here. But do you know what I mean? Maybe we're a group of people who are the little leaders in our own community. Do you see what I mean? So in a way, you're intuitively doing a leadership club, whether you realise it or not. Do you see what I mean?
I think membership is an interesting idea, how you get people to contribute. But for example, Amanda and myself, we're both involved in the secret club, but we never meet each other, do we? It's true, isn't it? We're here. We don't meet each other otherwise, even though we're mighty neighbours. So maybe it's something special. It's just a matter of staying afloat.
How is government funding different from grant funding? Grant funding is just
Well, another philanthropist would have. I mean, there are some people for whom £100,000 or £1 million is nothing, but we don't know, do we?
I thought you were proposing government funding, and that's what grant funding is.
There are a whole range of. Oh, sorry.
A big chunk of grant funding is just pay to go to the events like we have done today.
So, yeah, you were next on them.
I would just like to echo what you were saying about when you do something for free. I ran the field of wise and growing, and when we were offering service for free, people would come, but when they had to pay 10 weeks in advance, and so there's this issue of commitment. They did, and when they paid for it in advance, they showed up to them because they were invested in the whole thing. So I think there's also a huge value in being able to work for free and other influence free, not being funded by anyone. That gives us credibility as a voice within the world, as a Campfire Convention. And I think to compromise that would be actually to completely compromise the spirit of what is trying to be achieved here.
I think a free trial period of time to just see whether you think this is for you.
Yeah, you do a
Free
3
trial of free wine, and then you commit afterwards. I think there's a lot to be said about valuing really good things in the community because we haven't put a value against that for many, many years. And in a way, maybe this gets over that issue temporarily until society begins to value good.
I also think there's value that you can put on, like, members get special discounts at events, seminars around the country, knowledge sharing. Like, I would do a workshop on anyone that's trying to put out a record. So people can put a value on that, but then that could be, Campfire members get it at 50% off. So we can make a value to what it is to be within Campfire, I think, in marketing terms.
Yeah.
In a healthy way, not in a snazzy way.
What I was going to say is we're talking within our One Hill Speaking and Hannah Craig and Belinda and the rest of the people in London, etc. One Hill Speaking. And we keep having this debate about where does Facebook sit in this? It's a free thing, and actually we can use that. There's a whole load of free things. So we've got Zoom, there's a whole load of things that do really well for meeting getting things and are actually free. We use them. They exist. Why don't we use them more? And then we have a membership to it is a particular club. And I mean, I'm really excited about what Campfire Convention represents. I think we're all here because we share beliefs, we share a whole load of, share the vision we discussed today, and it's giving us hope, which is fabulous. I've forgotten what the name of the organisation is, but there's Creative Industries Federation, which as a company is like a company with equal vision, and I believe that that's enough to put £80 of my money from a brand new company that I've got that has very little money into that because I believe in what they're doing. I've just gone into quid straight off into that without even considering it, because 80 quid, 20 quid in my head is roughly the same sort of money. But 166 somehow, I don't know, there's a barrier thing almost because it's almost, coming in with a bit of a sort of, well, we coming for for a sort of value bargain basement price. And perhaps, I think some of these discussions today kind of clarify that actually it's an audience development strategy using things like Facebook. Because for our One Hill Speaking, we don't want to even charge something for 166. We don't want to charge them anything to be engaged in our group. We want them to come along and then after our event, which we've got next week, to say, sign up to our Facebook page, keep coming, join us. A young person who hasn't got any money at all, we want them to come and join us. These people who have talked about not being here today, we want them to come and join us. But as leaders, and I think it feels like we are all leaders here today, maybe we do need to put our money where our mouths are. I haven't paid into
said that to me next week, I will pay up. But because you haven't really pushed me, and I'm not blaming you for that because I'm not making decisions like that, I actually would go, oh, I've got to be in or out now. Okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
The Campfire thing though, there's two levels, isn't there? There's the central organisation, which is your full-time job. Do you see what I mean? And you've got to keep going without burnout and pay for this stuff. And then there's the sort of volunteer local level, isn't there? Because it's not your full-time job. So there's sort of almost two levels of approaches there, I think we're talking about. You know what I mean? How do you sustain running it without burning out, whatever? And how does it work? You know, just to point that out, how does it work on a local?
Yeah.
That's about, then you can start to create a business model, I think, once you've got income coming in.
But the thing is that everything that everybody's been talking about this whole day since I joined is about the thing that they want is they want events like this, they want beacons, they want real world opportunities, right? And then there's this whole big website that exists and needs and it costs money and supports all of this kind of stuff, but in people's heads, heading towards the running of a website. I mean, you can't get any grant funding for it because I know, but it's like, okay, all of this is supporting and giving you further information, education, all this kind of stuff. But it's like, well, yeah, I'll pay to go to an event. I don't pay to do this, but who's going to pay for?
Doesn't that pay for the website then?
Yeah, but if you're asking it to the Guardian, for being honest, even if half the people here aren't even supporting the Guardian, I think we have to be really honest about
No, you
that.
do. Yeah.
Can I pop in a...
The financial way of doing it, perhaps, I think, so which would be to immediately triple the cost, but then offer everybody, then 166 is regarded as a discount price.
Just to qualify that, the 166 is the lower end of the pay what you feel, an expression you used earlier, which we use on our site. So it's a slider, so you can give more. But there is an argument that we should say it's just an introductory offer. You were going to say?
Yeah, just a question for the floor. Has anyone here got a broken computer? Two. Or a dodgy phone that you'd like to get fixed, or printer? Yeah, just curious. So, would you pay a fellow member of Campfire Convention 40 quid to come along and fix that? So that's... Okay. So that's there and your subscription for a year paid for Campfire Convention and your computer fixed without any nagging. Yeah. Yeah, huh. I would. Yeah, but yeah. So that's me. But yeah, so I just feel like it's a nice way to offer the skills you've got that are worth a lot. So I'd really like to explore that in Campfire Convention. We're launching Dignity in Brighton first, because we want people to be nearby to help each other with things. But I think it could actually work. Who here's from London? Okay. So most of you are local to each other in this room, at least. Yeah. Yeah. So I'd really be interested to explore that. I wanted to touch a little bit on something to do with pay as you feel, because I think there's some really often overlooked things, I guess, about pay as you feel. I think a lot of people just think of it as the same thing as just like donating, like you would donate to a charity or something. There's a donate button. Help, give us your handouts, we need donations. Pay as you feel is that interesting middle place between charging for a service and allowing people to donate to it, or nagging them to. And it can be done really, really, really badly. And in my opinion, 95% of the time it is done really badly, really ineffectively. And I believe that gives pay as you feel a really bad name. Because people are like, oh, it's not working. Pay as you feel. So it's like, oh, yeah? Yeah, that's just what I was going to touch on. I've got it on my napkin. The one that I've tried to avoid putting snot on. I have a cold. There's like three things that are like really important, I think, from some research I've done with a very, very good researcher that I found on Simbi, which is a time bank, which is also a really awesome app where you can find any skill and just trade in time credits. Simbi.com.
How do you spell it?
Like symbiotic. Simbi.com. It's amazing. Market rate. What is this thing worth in the market? Like, if you don't know that, or you're not telling me that, are you expecting me to like do the work of finding that out? Like, if I go to the Real Junk Food Project and there's a plate of food in front of me, yeah, I'm going to eat it. I'm going to sit down. Thanks. The average donation per plate is 50p in Brighton at the Real Junk Food Project. I think it's because they're doing 0 out of these 3 things. So what is the market rate of that plate? It's like, okay, it's like some of the cabbage is a little bit past its best, but you know, that's a good 4 or 5 quid worth of plate. Little box of details if you want some information on the research for like super nerds, but that's the market rate. Actual cost, like, yes, it's reclaimed from Aldi and Lidl and you know, directly from producers and stuff. There's definitely some actual costs. Are you expecting everyone who walks in through the door, homeless, low income, busy, with their mates, distracted, to do their own independent research on what your running costs are as an organisation? No. Like, tell them your actual costs. You can turn it into a beautiful infographic, get an illustrator to offer like a couple of hours of time, make something simple, beautiful, again, details for anyone who's a nerd. Petrol, picking stuff up, wear and tear on the car, that sort of thing. We have to get herbs and spices to, like, you know, fill in the gaps to make your delicious meal. Market rate, actual cost. Third one, need. Do you actually need money right now? Like, are you assuming that I'm going to come in to this pay-as-you-feel cafe and just automatically, magically, somehow know how much you need my money? Like, you could have just got a grant. I don't know how it works. Like, you might be rolling in some grant funding from Unlimited, or, you know, the government, or I don't know. Like, I can think of 1,000,001 places where I want my limited money to go to. So tell me how much you need my money, and I want to see that go up and down as well. I want it to be responsive and live. Market rate, actual cost, and need. Do those 3 things in pay as you feel and present them, make them actually visible, and don't hide the money boxes like on a shelf in the corner. Like, make it visible, not naggy, not sort of like charity mugging in the street, sort of gut-wrenching. Just thank you so much for supporting us. Our average plate donation is X at the moment. This is how much money we need. Market cost, yeah.
Can I just say, what I've observed today is what is being traded, and what I can see being traded is people who know how to do things, set up organisations, who've learned by failures, and who know the shortcuts, who are across the UK and who can provide soft landings for other people who do this kind of thing. And that is the market commodity.
Yeah, and that's also, Pete, what you've always been very good at doing, bringing people together, to be honest. I'm being really honest, I don't read half of what you put up. I don't need any half of it, to be honest, in terms of time. But I just thought, a bit of a boost down with some good people. I'm being really honest, it wasn't even the subject matter, and that is actually your key ability, and always has been, to bring people together from disparate groups, and that obviously quite often music related historically. But I think that is like, what is my £1.66 buying, right? Is your knowledge and network ability to network people together. And I was happy to nail it, that's what it's long.
Pete, you're looking for more than that now. You're looking for people to come together and build community.
Yeah. How do we do that? I don't have the answers.
A really silly example, which I loved, anybody who lives nearby wants to come across it. In West Yorkshire, somebody got the idea of running for amnesty, usually, a day in which all the local dance teachers gave their time free, and everybody paid to do this day of dancing. And it actually did raise quite a lot of money for amnesty. The dance teachers doing different dance styles with one class for free. Everybody paid a fairly nice, not too expensive to come. And everybody just kind of said it was a great model. Now we've got some, I think dancing is a very important skill, but there are people here with amazing skills, actually. So if we could work, I mean, Pete and I started talking about, I'd love to start organising learnings, because I think people know so much that other people would so appreciate learning. I mean, if we started to talk about skills we have, it's going to
And people pay, I mean, that's one of the things we're doing in our membership, we're going to be doing these, and people pay, don't they, for workshops. I mean, that's a very different thing, isn't it? 1.66 for a virtual thing, I'm not really sure about it, I've really got time to read it. Oh, I need to go and learn how to do PR for my own burgeoning
Well, that's what the chat I had with Ruth last week, which I'm sure you'll say more about now or in the last panel, is all about having a whole weekend of learning and think-shops and workshops.
Because we get
in
those
March.
benefits from things like this, because we honestly, if we're passing on PR, events, management, whatever it is, how to speak in public and how to be married, whatever, we're doing double thing, giving people skills that they want for their own enterprises or whatever, but also giving them skills for activism, which is what really excites me. But we could, I mean, I'm happy to follow. I think one advantage of being old is quite a lot. And I would love to share.
So what we did in our group, I'm just going to interrupt you slightly, is when people join our Facebook group, I built a little type form, and that feeds into a Google spreadsheet, which I'm going to have to sort out from a data protection point of view. And the way it works is I ask them their name, their age, where they live, do they host on Airbnb, what do they do like professionally, and then what are their interests, and then would they be interested in joining our business academy. What that then gives us is a massive spreadsheet of people who we find out all around the world who the Airbnb hosts are, and believe me, there are probably 80% of our group are Airbnb hosts, just because of the world in which we live right now, including me. What we find out, and I ask them, would they offer discounts to our members on their services if they offer services? So there's quite a lot of people in self-development, coaching, psychotherapy, all sorts of those sorts of areas. Wellness in general is quite a big theme. But ultimately what I'm trying to do is build a massive members directory, which then, if we do build in a members site, that will then become a directory in itself of all of our group and what they can give without me having to say, what do you want to give? It's already going to be there, and they can have their own page and all the rest of it. But that to me gives value to people, because giving them access to older people around the world that they can go and visit and stay with, I want to know that. I'd like to have my own Airbnb just for older people.
Okay, we have a comment just over here.
Just wanted to say I've noticed recently a massive upsurge in the amount of kind of getting the neighbourhood together type groups online as apps, Facebook. I don't know who's running these things, some of them that don't face as people or entities that there are loads of them, and they're popping up and they're closed and one pops up, there's one recently next door or something.
Yeah, it's $110 million.
There's loads of what it shows is this, they recognise the real need for it, and then they place money on it, and it's not even, you can't even track down who's doing these things, but there's this big market out there who wanting these things, so it's something like Campfire, what Lee was saying, we get these together, we get those, it seems like there's a lot of people that need it, but what you were saying about the was about showing people what things cost, most people don't do that, maybe Campfire really honest go, okay guys, this is what it's costing, this is what I put in, this is what I put out, maybe visually, maybe some graphics, maybe a little costing, something that people can look at, oh wow, what's that, so then maybe like, this is how long can last if you don't offer, and do that visually, so it's really quite authentic, and I just thought that what you said to me really sense.
And like Ruth was saying, we've got resources in this room that can add massive value so I'm doing a release your own record workshop, which I'm normally like, people can't work with me for a day, but I'm doing it.
Exactly.
And then we could have our members, okay, you can get that at 50%.
My gut feeling is, whether it's the right language or not, that there's a bunch of elders here, mostly, who are experienced people, who've all worked with amazing people, and we also do, all that stuff, right? For whom, if you want to be more inclusive, then that sort of model of the sharing, teaching seems to be just really straightforward.
Very much so, yeah.
Because the skill set's incredible, right? People want to be in that way.
I want to say some really practical things about building community, because it's not difficult, it's very simple. It is the things like saying in before you speak and saying to each time you speak so that everybody hears it and gets it. Use names with one another when you're having a cup of tea together. Write names down so you remember them. This sounds like I'm being really patronising, but I'm not. This is the stuff that works. But repeatedly, people are do that. I think we need to do it and keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. Build up that community. Using pro-social facilitation techniques. I never sit behind the table. It was weird this morning, and it was wonderful, and there were some wonderful things said, but it would have been very different if that session had been produced thinking environment or community philosophy or any of these things that they're not gimmicky things, they share the same principles that equalise everybody, but you're building community. Everybody says how great it is to meet face to face. Well, we could use Zoom to meet face to face. You can get 100 people in the Zoom room. Only one of you needs to pay that 120 quid for the pro Zoom. It's like Skype, but it's better. And then it has breakout. It has breakout. There is a free, but it's very limited gain, so you only get 40 minutes, certain number of people you get cut off. In the pro one, it's the same thing, but you pay for it. Only one person out of that 100 needs to pay that 120 quid, and it doesn't have to be Pete, I would just say it. It's got breakout rooms that are really
Can get an eat
we
next
used
week.
them last night. There's also, but if we start, and I get the data mining thing, and I'm totally with you, when you said that game about, absolutely with you, but this stuff is still out there. If we don't use Twitter, we don't use Facebook, we don't use Instagram, we don't build community. We don't. It's the way in which we can build community, but all the time making that connection to individuals, and then looking around the room, you're quite right, see who's not here, and then what community development do we need to do to get the people who are not in the room into the room. So, but it's simple, the name thing is simple, and I've said it quite a few times today, and it's still not dropping. So even things like that, let them land. And even if you feel, even if I say now to Ralph Blue, he's not going to laugh at me and say, oh, I know that, because we're learning that. And if you're a person, I will shut up in a minute, if you're a person who says to themselves, I'm no good with names, get good, otherwise you'll never be any good with them. What's your name? I didn't say it.
Should we just go around the circle then? So I'm Sally.
Eileen.
Pete.
Luke.
Lizzie, Paula, Carol,
Martin.
Sharon,
Jez. Josh.
Gemma,
Toby. Matt.
Lisa, Dana, Suzanne,
No, sorry, Mark.
Jane,
Paul.
Anna, Brian, Belinda.
No, we should never come together without doing that.
Hi, my name is Toby. I'm a singer and choir director, music director, and I think Campfire is about songs as well. It would be really nice to talk about how you build community. Like the easiest way to do that is choir, and to sing together. And we all have community choirs. Everyone can sing, and it would be beautiful to incorporate that in some way. I don't know how that is possible, but.
So we have 20 minutes. We have 20 minutes. Would you like to lead something for the last part of the session?
I can do like 3 minutes at the end.
That would be a lovely thing, I think. Singing is such a just warming, heart-warming and wonderful thing. Thank you. Yes.
So this is a bit trivial after that, so that's really quite inspiring. But if we get back to money, just a thought. I study in London Surface, and they do a thing whereby, as a gift, some people pay their fees. I was wondering, wouldn't we have something whereby membership or something could be given as a gift, as a sort of Christmas gift to somebody else? Is that possible? Because that's the sort of amount of money somebody might be prepared to do as a one-off for a nephew, a niece, or whatever. But they wouldn't even spend it themselves.
A little bit like a...
Yes, it's
sponsoring the justice, and we've got the evidence to have nothing else.
They don't, the person who gives the gift to Campfire Convention, they're just sort of giving it some saying. I was thinking rich people who may not necessarily be part of Campfire Convention.
I was just wondering whether there's one thing I've discussed with you previously, was whether it's clear what membership, what you have, what the exchange is.
Yeah.
Because that's what keeps people in my mind.
That's something we have down for the last panel to try and. And Ruth has been, well, we've been having some.
Really interested in, I think, the transaction, which is part of membership in all sorts of organisations. Yeah, says I get this and this, and for me, that clarity on what that is. If somebody was to give a gift for it, what would that person be getting, and then how would they know what they then?
Or giving.
Actually, a learning thing then that you would go through to be able to then use them. People might use the website mainly at the moment, but that's always a question to you. Everybody who's been involved.
Yeah.
I think some people did people involved in the membership side. There's that pay it forward thing, when you just put money into a pot, you don't really know paying it forward.
So we're still not managing to do the name thing. I know you didn't either. Ben, I think you said something as well, so you need to say your name. Okay, back to Bob.
I struggle with the Campfire website, maybe unusual, but every time that I go to it, it breaks or it tells me I don't have access to that page. So that's just as a buy before I say the main thing, which is what I believe you're offering, but I haven't really, because I've been turned off by it, I haven't really tried to explore it as much as I might. But what I believe you've got there is a social network, which is not funded by advertising. Now, I have a very strong objection to all of the monetising that Facebook and Twitter are to do. I think it's fundamentally destructive of our democracy. And I think many people are starting to understand that. And I have a kind of a vision and a hope that there'll be some kind of dramatic event. Perhaps it's just about to come when we realise the interventions that some bots have made to Twitter, that there's some revulsion to the advertising model funded social networks. And I would like us all to be ready at that time to say, yeah, but there's this one. And you might suddenly find that thousands, if not millions of people want to pay £1 a month to come to an unadvertising funded social network.
Yeah, I think we're getting ready for that. But I would say, in answer to your first question about no access to pages, that shouldn't exist unless you're not logged in or you're not a full member. So you should have access to all pages. Yeah, maybe you haven't authorised your account, something as simple as that, but I'd be happy to talk to you privately about that. Yeah, it is a complex site. It can do a lot of things that you can't do on Facebook or Twitter, although perhaps not as seamlessly. There's still some work to do. There's a phase 3 of development. We need to find 10 or 20 grand, don't know what the figure is, probably 20 to do that bit of work, but it will keep going on. So.
Well, we give small awards of up to £5,000 just to pilot something. So, well, I know, yeah, Pete, you did discuss with some, I think, because I only work in Scotland, but I did put Pete in touch with my colleague, but we probably wouldn't give somebody 20 grand.
Well, anything would be helpful.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the money that we give out is normally for people out there on the ground doing stuff in their community. I mean...
That's right, from the Beacon's point of view, we're in the community and we really need the kind of functionality to improve. And that's just, and we're all aware of that, I think.
So maybe, yeah.
Kind of thing, which, I mean, is less certain from where he's coming from the organisation. I was just wondering how, it feels to me like there's a really important grant almost to get to the next stage in some ways. A lot of work's been done, but there's just this in between to get to.
Yeah, the site isn't perfect, I'll be the first to admit it.
I mean, they might. You'd need to speak to the local person, whoever it is.
Well, again, if someone wants to take on grant funding, I've tried it twice, and I've spent I've spent a week each time filling in applications and haven't got the grant, so
Is it really hard?
I've been put off it a bit, and
So-
I haven't got time to do it anyway, really.
My friend who does this for money for research, she says 1 in 20 is successful.
Yeah.
So it's
I've
really
been very
hard.
demoralised.
It is.
But that goes right through. I mean, if anyone wants to step up, it's how we organise it, really. And we discussed this a year ago at the circle meeting at my place before I hit the road and became an itinerant in Braunston. How do we organise ourselves? How do we get all the stuff we're talking about today actually happening?
Is it a community interest company?
It's currently a limited company, but again, some work was going to be done a year ago on whether it can become a community interest company, because my...
To be honest, that is your decision.
But no one's presented any options to say this
I've
isn't...
given you people that
Yeah.
to speak to. I can't give you all of the detail of the pros and cons, but you can speak to that person at my cost, which I've said. But you have to make the decision. It's your company currently. We can all sit here and talk about it as we like, but it's yours.
At the end of the day, having actually been successful at grant funding, and I've only applied for 3 and I've gotten 2.
What are you doing?
About a lot. So one thing that I've recognised very quickly is that firstly, I'm in a very I'm in a niche, and I've got a whole Google Drive that is literally just statistics about my niche, and all of these grant funds depend on really understanding who your audience is, how you're going to enhance their, or educate them or do something. They're all pretty standard, these forms, and they're not actually, I don't find them that difficult, mainly because I'm now used to working around what are the deliverables, what are the statistics. As an unlimited person, they need, I think part of the big challenge you've got with Campfire is that your aspirations are broad, and that for these funds you need to really have very narrow aspirations, and they need to be, particularly if, as a limited company, there's almost no funds you can get as a limited company, but loads as a social enterprise, which is what we've
And just to follow, I mean, on limited funds, the individual, but I guess the question we would be asking is, what is the social issue that you're addressing? And if it's, as you say, if it's quite broad, then...
So the
Sorry, what?
The social issue.
Well, there isn't one. There are lots of them.
Yeah, but well,
Inequality, I don't know. You could pick...
The social issue of an advertising free space.
Yes.
That is an independent voice.
Yeah. That is a very good point.
That is the issue. So there may be tech or ethical companies, there may be bequeaths, or there could be places that are specifically set up to support that kind of independence in the media. There are.
I think it's a decision as well, though, isn't it? Even if you have a limited landscape, which you can have. Was at a time when the grants are going down and down. I don't see a happy future for grants. That's not. And I just personally decided that I'd have to either learn to fill out forms and teaching forms, or I could actually just focus on the selling tickets, or which isn't really successful, but trudge along with all of that stuff. Number 1, and number 2 for us, the physical space became absolutely imperative to the survival of our business.
Yeah.
We went after years of being chucked out of warehouses and everything else. We got physical space and we went to trials for support. You know what I mean?
The thing is, if you have a physical space, then getting funding again is far easier.
Yeah.
a comment just over here and then to Ruth.
Yeah, I just wanted to come back to what both Bob and Daniel were saying earlier in the workshop, was about the way Facebook in particular, but Twitter and the others, it's not just clickbaiting people, it's psychological engineering, and it's quite deliberate, and they use searches to work out how the brains work and to get you for that really second offer. And if we can create a space that's psychology company.
Well, I was just going to say there's actually an exhibition that I just happened to come upon last night on Charing Cross Road called The Glass House, and it's looking at data and how all these companies are controlling our lives now.
But it's not just those algorithms and it's
Ruth and then
it's this deep psychological kind of analysis that's going on and manipulation that is so scary.
Yeah.
So just
but I think
one
that's
more
what
comment
you
from...
said, Jamie, that actually, you know, that's the same. That's the value. That's the value for me that you put it so much better.
That's a good
So
point.
we've got just a few minutes left, so one more comment from Ruth, and then...
I just wanted to say, I started to have my slightly happy rising because we were starting to tell people what to do. And if I understand it right, Pete is not asking whether he should form a CIC. He's asking for people who want to be involved in the CIC. And that starts, so I don't think it's him not making up his mind. I think he's saying maybe this is the time that some of us have to jump in different ways, obviously. And I suppose, now this is a really cheap shot, that this is the point at which somebody who's really good at grant applications could possibly volunteer a bit of, there's things we can start to do. But I was just afraid that we're starting to direct, you can do this, you can do that.
I apologise.
That's a miscommunication. No, it was a sort of technology, it was a sort of tone of releases, and of course we can, but for me there's a bit of it has to be.
But I think the language is understood that it's just suggestions, it's not really
No, you've got something to go, Pete, you have to make a decision.
I think there is something about the fact that it is the limited company.
Of course.
And that's
Of course,
unfair. For me, that makes it sort of, it does make it led very much by Peter without the voting things. It's not, it's about, in fact, it's about leadership and ownership.
Yeah.
And actually that comes from something that sits within the core of the setup. And I think that's something that I keep on
But,
and I keep talking to Peter about saying, hey, CIC, who work well actually does that in terms of regenerating the revenue. Does that do that? And how does the CIC and the limited company function?
Yeah, of course that's true, and of course I take exactly what you're saying, but of course there's a button also, which is that I think it's time those of us who want to see how to play that out, we probably need to have a session where those of us are keen actually sit down and work out the mechanics of how they do it.
Thank you, Ruth. There will be...
I mean, yeah, it's been on my list, and every time I get to sort of 3 points above it, then the phone rings, or the developers want me to go in for another 2 days of sorting out how the site's going to work, or there's another campfire conversation. It's just all about time, really.
So there is at 4:30, Keeping the Fires Burning, thinkshop, which is where we can continue this conversation. And I wonder, in the spirit of building community, will we all stand perhaps and do some singing, Toby? Is this something we could do?
Thank you, everyone, for your contribution on that panel.